Nothing shows that Droid users are still jealous. Which M3 should you buy now that the dust has settled? iOS 18 could be as revolutionary as iOS 7, and why I was right about the iMac right from the start. Want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours? Subscribe and ring the bell. I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours, like the video, subscribe to the channel and ring my bell. Bright Android phone maker Nothing, famous for adding lots of LEDs to the back of their handsets, has pointed out just how jealous Android people still are about iPhones getting the right coloured text message bubbles. Just give them your iCloud login credentials and you can pretend that you've got an iPhone to all your friends. Now, I can't imagine any security issues there, and yet even though Google and many others have been begging for years to get access, and it seems that Europe is about to get involved once again with things that they don't understand by trying to open up services like iMessage to everyone, Fandroids on X are pretending they never wanted it in the first place. Maybe they're not that bothered, but Carl Pei, the man behind Nothing, is clearly a massive Apple fan, and who can blame him? It's just surprising that an Android phone maker is a bigger Apple sheep than me. Next up, which M3 Mac is right for you? Of course, this is not an easy question to answer, or so it would seem. If you have any Intel Mac right now, it's still kind of working for what you need to do. All you need is the base M3. You don't need a Pro. You certainly don't need a Max unless your workload is changing dramatically. There is basically no task that you could do on any Intel Mac, bar maybe a top spec Mac Pro, that the cheapest M3 won't beat it out handily. Now, you might want to wait for an Air or a Mac Mini in terms of the form factor that you're looking for, but the M3 will be enough. And let's bear in mind, the M2 MacBook Air that I wrote this script on cost the exact same amount as the base M3 MacBook Pro does now, with the same 8GB of base RAM, but with the unbinned chip and with 512 gigs of storage. But that MacBook Pro gets 120Hz ProMotion mini LED display, more better ports, better battery life, a fan. It's just generally a pretty decent value, and we never used to be able to say that about the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the touch bar on it. Now, if you currently have an Apple Silicon Mac, the one that you need to buy is none of them at all, because you almost certainly don't need to upgrade, regardless of what you're being told by other YouTubers. Yes, the improvements generation on generation are really great, with the exception of the M3 Pro, which has gone more for efficiency, but the M3 Max is basically now on par with an M2 Ultra, so it's a Mac Pro with an attached display and a battery. That is pretty crazy. Now, don't just upgrade for the sake of it. All Apple Silicon is performant enough that you're not really missing out unless your workflow has pretty dramatically changed. Yes, it's always nice to have the new things, but do you really need it? And I have to say as well, this is a good thing. The fact that if you've got any Apple Silicon Mac right now, you basically don't need to replace it 3 and a bit years on. That's testament to how good Apple Silicon was in the first place. Next up, iOS 18 could be a massive revolution with major design changes if Bloomberg dweller Mark Gurman is to be believed, and he often is. In his latest letter to his pen pals, Mark mentions that Apple is looking to overhaul iOS to catch Google and OpenAI's strides through generative AI. They'll be very surprised if Apple do label any of the technology AI in any way. Something like Siri Create or something like that is probably more likely to be what happens, although they tend to use the name machine learning for most of this stuff. Now, Apple has reportedly run into a number of issues, causing them to take a break for a week purely to squash bugs, but with a project that is even internally being called ambitious and compelling, you're probably going to have to break a few eggs to make that operating system. Now, I've been saying it for years, I know, but I really hope that with this design overhaul, Apple includes ways to make iOS more personal. They've taken really good steps towards that with the custom lock screens in recent years, but I think they could do a lot more. Let me know in the comments what you're looking forward to in iOS 18, and what features do you need? And finally, the iMac. Apple has uncharacteristically come out and said there are no plans for a 27-inch Apple Silicon iMac. So many people have been telling me that they are waiting for it, and I've told so many people that it's not going to be coming. Now, that's not to say there will never be a bigger iMac, but 27 inches never ever made any sense alongside a 24-inch model, which is what we have right now. It's just not a big enough jump in screen size on the desktop. Now, I don't believe that Apple will bring an iMac back with the full-on iMac Pro name either, but I wouldn't rule out a Pro chip option on both sizes, although I don't think the Max chip would make any sense. While you can fit it in a reasonably slim laptop. It's then far away from a warm display as opposed to being pretty close to it in an iMac style form factor. So if we are going to get a larger model, I'd still assume we'd be looking at between 30 and 32 inches on the display with around about a 6K resolution, but probably not a ProMotion 120Hz display in all likelihood, and probably not within the next 12 months either. Now I do think I understand why people want an iMac Pro, but the iMac Pro was a one and done. They did one version of it, they kind of filled a gap between the Mac Pro and the next Mac Pro, the 2013 and the 2019, and that's it. It was never intended to be something that stuck around. So let me know any questions that you've got in the comments with hashtag iCaveAnswers. Thank you to the Patreons. I'm going to be changing the format a little bit on iCaveAnswers. It's probably going to be in more of a shorts format, and we will see you in the next one. Want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours? Subscribe and ring the bell.